the COVID protocols and being a threat to public health, the Congress continues to insist that this is just a political attack by the government and the BJP. Congress leader Rahul Gandhi, who's leading the Yatra, has termed COVID as a mere excuse, quote-unquote, by the government to stall the Yatra. As the Yatra enters the NCR region and shall enter Delhi by tomorrow and various parts of Delhi, the politics between the BJP and Congress will escalate. Amidst all of this, the government has taken stock of the COVID preparedness, with Prime Minister himself chairing a crucial meeting and the Health Minister also sounding a note of caution. If there is one thing that we have learned in more than 2 years of living with this virus, is the harsh reality that only and only precaution can save us from the impending harm. Is precaution being thrown to the wind? Should public health issues like COVID-19 be a matter of political debate? We discuss all these issues, but first up, a special report.
Not a mask in sight. No social distancing. Rahul Gandhi's Bharat Jodo Yatra enters the national capital region despite an advisory from the centre to call it off. As fears of a COVID resurgence return, Rahul Gandhi and his followers are getting set to march the streets of Delhi.
What is the strategy
We are
of
all taking precautions. We don't play politics with public health issues. It's the BJP, it is the Prime Minister and his colleagues who are using the COVID situation in order to defame and derail the Bharat Jodo Yatra.
Earlier this week, Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia had written to Rahul Gandhi to follow COVID-appropriate behaviour or suspend his yatra.
मेरी जिम्मेवारी थी कि मैं राज्य के मुख्यमंत्री को लिखूं और यात्रा जो कर रहे हैं इसे उसके कन्वीनर को भी लिखूं कि उसके ऊपर प्रिकॉशन, उसके ऊपर जरा कोविड प्रोटोकॉल का पालन करें। मैं बात में पॉलिटिक्स में नहीं जाना चाहता हूं, लेकिन एज ए हेल्थ मिनिस्टर मेरा दायित्व है कि देश में कोविड ना फैले और उसके लिए मैं जागरूकता से काम करूं।
But Rahul Gandhi and the Congress party are calling it an excuse to shut down the yatra.
चिट्ठी लिखी कि कोविड आ रहा है, यात्रा बंद करो। अब यात्रा को रोकने के लिए बहाने बन रहे हैं।
The BJP claims Himachal Pradesh Chief Minister Sukhvinder Singh Sukhu tested positive days after taking part in the Bharat Jodo Yatra, where he was walking side by side with Rahul Gandhi, even calling it a super spreader.
भारत जोड़ो यात्रा आप जिंदगी भर करते रहो, हमारा कोई आपत्ति नहीं है भैया। आप घूमते रहो, देश भर में घूमो, गांव-गांव घूमो, जितने इच्छा है आप घूमते रहो, मगर कोविड प्रोटोकॉल फॉलो करो, यही हमारा एडवाइजरी है।
Taking an early lead, the Prime Minister has urged for strict vigil and following COVID-appropriate behaviour in light of the surge in cases in China. But for Rahul Gandhi, is his political agenda bigger than public health?
Our political agenda is bigger than public health. That's the key question we ask. But first, my colleague Anshul Singh has been tracking the Bharat Jodo Yatra ever since it has entered the periphery of the NCR region. It is currently in Faridabad. I want to cut across to my colleague Anshul and get more details. Anshul, tell us about what's happening at the Yatra right now. Right now, it's in Faridabad. What does the plan of action look like? I see you wearing a mask. Is there any kind of COVID compliance when it comes to the Bharat Jodo Yatra? We have heard various statements from Jairam Ramesh to Rahul Gandhi and other Congress leaders, but what are you witnessing on the ground?
So yes, if you talk about the program of the Congress party, what we are being told that the Yatra is in the last leg of today, and tomorrow morning the Yatra is going to begin yet again, and at approximately 6:30 a.m. we're expecting the Yatra to officially enter the national capital. Now if you talk about the COVID protocols that are being followed, I'll just try and show you in the visuals out here. If you see, there is a massive crowd that is following Rahul Gandhi. In fact, the entire crowd is running around Rahul Gandhi, and you can rarely see anyone wearing any sort of mask or any sort of COVID protocols being followed at this point in time. But yes, Jairam Ramesh in the press conference that he held today had come out and said that from tomorrow, once the Yatra enters Delhi, each and every person will be wearing a mask. Today, they were not able to arrange masks for so many people, and hence the people are not wearing masks. But yes, from tomorrow, people will continue to wear masks. But yes, the biggest point of traction that in this entire political bickering that is happening is that the Congress is not ready to believe that that something like COVID is coming back in India, could come back in India, and government is just asking them to get some precautions in place, because the kind of scenes that we saw during the first wave and the second wave, that has scared each and every person in the country, and hence we as citizens of India, for us as citizens of India, it is very important for us to make sure that COVID protocols are followed, so that a situation like what we saw in the first wave and the second wave, that does not arise. But yes, the Congress party is very, very confident that they have garnered a lot of momentum at this point in time through the yatra that they have taken out over the last 3 months, and hence the BJP is trying to break their momentum, and the Congress party is absolutely sure that they will not let and they will continue to gain momentum over the next 30 to 40
I was
days
looking at
once
that
Yatra
map.
finishes in Kashmir.
There's a tweet that the Congress party has put out, and they were pointing out to these different areas where the Bharat Jodo Yatra is going to cross. So yes, there's going to be special traffic advisories, special restrictions that may follow, and it could also lead to some degree of inconvenience for people who want to venture out in Delhi, because it crosses through ITO, goes all the way to Red Fort, India Gate, and different parts. But the politics around it, that's our focus. That's what we talk about. Those are the visuals of the Bharat Jodo Yatra. Anshul was on the ground telling us about what's happening there. Joining us on the broadcast is our panel of guests, Mr. Tuhin Sinha from the BJP, the national spokesperson, Mahima Singh, the spokesperson for the Congress party, Tushar Gupta, who's a senior editor from the Swaraj magazine, George Kurian, who's a political analyst, is also joining us on the broadcast. Mr. Tuhin Sinha, coming to you first. The Congress party says this is a mere excuse. Bahana hai, you just want to stop the Bharat Jodo Yatra. There are different yatras and political rallies happening across the country. Why is Bharat Jodo Yatra being singled out? I open the floor to you. Go ahead.
Well, good evening, Anusha. Good evening to all your viewers. If I were to travel from tomorrow for a week and the government tells me to follow certain precautions, I would be very happy to follow those precautions. I would be grateful. I would appreciate the government's directive. So why does the Congress party, and especially Rahul Gandhi, feel that he's above all rules and regulations? I think that is the moot point. Have we asked him to stop the yatra? We haven't. But if based on the suggestion of 3 people, and the Honorable Health Minister has named those people, if a certain directive has been issued, that should be appreciated. And why the Health Minister, sent it to Rahul Gandhi first, there are umpteen reasons. Are you aware of which vaccine Rahul Gandhi has taken? We are not aware of it. Unlike most political leaders, most responsible political leaders who are very candid about the vaccination, Rahul Gandhi, we don't know what he did. In the past, before the assembly elections in Kerala, Bengal, and a couple of other states in early 2021, we know for a fact that he returned from a foreign tour, and without observing quarantine, he was out on a travel, out on campaign the next morning. So all of these things necessitated that a certain directive be issued to a person who has not been very responsible. Beyond that, I don't think there is any plan whatsoever to curb the yatra. All we are asking for certain precautions, and in fact, we have cancelled a similar yatra in Rajasthan.
No, I think the Jan Akrosh Yatra will continue to go on. There were certain initial reports to Insanaji that it has been cancelled, but I think the latest information is that the Yatra will continue.
The moot point over here is that there is nothing to panic over here in India, but at the same time, we need to observe certain precautions. Now, does Rahul Gandhi...
No, I agree with you. No, sir, this is a matter of public health. I don't think with whatever you have said, anybody can disagree that, you need to take precautions, you need to wear masks, you need to follow social distancing protocols. It is better to be safe than to be sorry. All of that is well taken. Before I take in a word from the Congress party, Mr. Tuhin Sinha, one more question that I'd like to ask you, that will the government of India also issue some kind of directives, not advisories? Yes, there are advisories that have already come in from the government of India. We just reported them 5 minutes ago, that all kinds of precautions need to be followed. But the mask mandate still doesn't exist. It's still not compulsory to wear mask at public places. That has been done away with. That's what some leaders of the Congress party also said, and that's why I'm bringing that point to you.
The entire situation is being monitored on a real-time basis, and as early as tomorrow or in the coming days, fresh directives would be issued. The point is that we don't want panic, and at the same time, wherever need be, right now the only mass yatra going on, even if it is for ulterior motives, is the Bharat Jodo Yatra. So obviously the first directive was issued to Bharat Jodo Yatra or whatever you call it. But if similar yatras would happen in other parts of the country, the same directives would apply to those yatras also. So I don't think there is any big deal in it. Rahul Gandhi should stop playing the victim.
All right, Mahimaji, one should stop playing the victim. They should take their responsibility. All that the government of India is asking is to ensure all precautions are taken. Why make a political issue out of it? That's what BJP is asking you. Mahimaji.
I'll tell you, Anusha ji, good morning. Good evening all. I have a little question to ask. When did the alarm from China first come in? If I remember correctly, I think it was about 10 days ago that I first read a news on a global platform about the rising cases there. And thereafter, there is this picture. And this picture is from the Tripura rally of the Prime Minister, Prime Minister Modi. The Health Ministry and the Prime Minister knew well about the rising COVID cases in China and all of it. And there was this talk about the Rajasthan Yatra right now, the Janakrosh Yatra. Satish Punyaji has already been carrying out, little segments of that yatra already. All the BJP programs are in place. Parliament is in place. Hospitals, hotels, schools, colleges, all are running normally. Yet there is a selective pointing out that is to the Bharat Jodo Yatra, and predictably so. We had predicted this. There's nothing that shocks us here, because over the past about 4 months, ever since this yatra started, September 7 we started, and right from the beginning there was one issue or the other that the BJP wanted to bring in, because of course in the beginning, before we started, the point was they won't even be able to go beyond 2-3 days. They said Rahul Gandhi cannot walk that much. He's a part-time politician. Lakhs of crores of rupees they had put in to demolish, to tarnish the image of a politician that is the only one that raises.
So, Maimaji, if I were to comprehend your broad argument here, you are reiterating the Congress Party's position that this is some kind of a targeted agenda that the BJP is pursuing with the Congress Party, and this is not about COVID at all. Is that what you're saying? That this entire thing about COVID is made up by the BJP? Is that the argument, ma'am?
No. Where did I say that? Not
no,
at all.
I'm asking you, ma'am. Is that the position?
No, that is not even what I infer. From saying whatever I'm saying. I'm just saying I'm a spokesperson of the Congress Party. So of course I resonate. I'm here to put forth the ideology of my party.
Yeah.
What my leaders have been saying is exactly this: that after the T-shirt propaganda failed, after all the propaganda failed that they were putting out, after tarnishing the image of even experts like Raghuram Rajan and all Bollywood celebrities joined us, they've attempted to tarnish not only Rahul Gandhi ji, not only the yatris, but crores of people who are joining the yatra.
Okay, I get your point. I get your point. I want to take a quick reaction from Tuhin and then go to Tushar Gupta and George Kurian, who are also with us. Tusharji, let me just paraphrase a pointed question to you. The question which is repeated by the Congress at multiple forums is that you are cherry picking, you are targeting us. There are so many yatras, so many activities going on. Life is as normal in India. The variant was reported much earlier in the country. Why this panic and alarm is being raised right now? It is not for anything but for your own political gains, and you're scared by the Bharat Jodo Yatra. That is being said, sir. Respond to that.
Anusha, it's rather ironical that the Congress thinks so highly of themselves and of Rahul Gandhi. Look, the Congress wants to be treated like an opposition party. Rahul Gandhi wants to be treated like a leader of the opposition. But when the health minister of the country, in good faith, writes a letter to Rahul Gandhi stating that all they need to do is exercise caution, take the necessary precautions, all hell breaks loose for them. What tarnishing the image of Rahul Gandhi are they talking about? What threat from the Bharat Jodo Yatra they are talking about? Tomorrow, the Rahul Gandhi's Bharat Jodo Yatra will enter Delhi, Anusha. You know what Congress has scored in the last 2 legislative assembly elections in Delhi? A golden duck. You know what Congress has scored in the last 2 Lok Sabha elections in Delhi? A golden duck. So what tarnishing the image and what threat are the Congress talking about? At the end of the day, we need to understand the Bharat Jodo Yatra, irrespective of its political ideology or lineage, it has elder people, it has women, men, children, young boys and girls, and especially elders as a part of the rally. We don't know their vaccination status. We don't know the vaccination status of Rahul Gandhi or Priyanka Gandhi, who would surely join him in Delhi. But what do we understand? We understand that the second wave, which was a very brutal wave for everyone, only lasted 14 days. 14 days of the last 2.5 years of the pandemic, and it was brutal. So all the government is asking Rahul Gandhi is, continue with your yatra, walk to Delhi, walk to wherever you want to, but just exercise precaution, exercise some caution, the masks, the sanitizers, the basic stuff.
But
now,
Tushar, shouldn't that advisory, I think that's a very legitimate concern for any government of the day to have, that if there's such a huge political rally happening and there are chances that it attracts a huge crowd here, even here in Delhi, take all the precautions. But then shouldn't there be a general advisory that all kinds of political gatherings should have the mask mandate, there should be social distancing protocols, because those kind of advisories I remember were in place when the Disaster Management Act was in force, but ever since the Disaster Management Act ceased to be in effect, those advisories are gone. They are no more in place.
Look, Anusha, there's something called self-responsibility as
Sure.
well. In the last 3 years, I agree with you. There were certain guidelines that were issued by the state and the center governments time to time. But right now, all of us are in an observing situation. We all are looking at what's coming out of China. And I would like to correct the Congress spokesperson there. Even though the alarm was sounded in China 10 days ago, the last 2-3 days have been the ones when some very disturbing images,
Sure.
some very disturbing news has come out of China. So like the government, the people of India are also observing. They're checking the news, they're checking the updates hour by hour. Of course, the ministry guidelines should come. Of course, there should be mask mandates for everyone. And there will be. The Prime Minister of the country, of all people, was sitting with a mask in the parliament. Isn't that an indication enough that everyone down the political hierarchy should be with the mask? All what is being said is for the Rahul Gandhi Yatra to exercise some caution. I don't understand why they're making such a fuss about it. Rahul Gandhi is a leader, even though of some 50 MPs, but he's a leader at the end of the day. So what is the problem if he's being asked to lead by example in a coronavirus situation?
George, all these political allegations being exchanged between the Congress and the BJP is fine. But the sort of panic and alarm that we have seen in China, in leading cities, including Beijing, in terms of the number of cases which are being reported, crematoriums unfortunately being flooded, that's not a situation that BJP or the government of India has created. There is a real alarm. That real alarm has been heard and has really, taken everybody by surprise in countries like India, in countries like US as well. So that is not exactly the sort of thing that any political party can create. I think we have lost that line with George Kurian. I'll go back to Mahima Singh, who continues to be with us on the broadcast. Mahima ji, you're right that the problem in China in terms of the numbers which were being reported or the high number of casualties which are coming out, that story was trickling out of China for some time. But the kind of meteoric rise that we have witnessed in the last 1 week, that's an alarming situation. And perhaps in the light of that situation, the government of India is asking you to take precaution. Nobody has stopped the yatra.
I hope you'll allow me to complete my thought, because the last time I could not.
Please go ahead.
I am questioning the government of the day that when on January 30, 2020, Rahul Gandhi ji came out and said that, he wrote a letter to the Prime Minister and asked them to take significant measures to control the approaching wave of corona in the country. What happened was Namaste Trump. What happened was, even the Kumbh Mela. And recently, I've just cited, this time also, there's this Tripura rally and yatras going on. And even during those times, you would remember the banks of Ganges that were flooded with,
please just allow me one interjection and then I'll give you time. So the Congress party termed the Kumbh Mela, the Namaste Trump and all those events as political mistakes, as mistakes against the public health. That's right. And if those were mistakes, then is this another mistake which is being committed?
No, I'm just, my question is, Anusha, you would remember exactly when the Kumbh Mela or Namaste Trump was done just before closing down, just before unplanned lockdown that the Prime Minister announced. And thereafter, also the toppling of the government in Madhya Pradesh happened right before that. So, they time everything. This is like an orchestrated, concerted sort of a, strategy that they have in place. Because you see, this wouldn't have been the case had they not been criticizing the yatra for nothing as they have been for the past so many months. But right now, the kind of advisory that, the advisory that's coming out, when there's no guideline as such, for the past so many days, we've been asking, what is the guideline? Pawan Khera has been asking, what is the guideline?
No, Mahima ji, there are guidelines which have come out. There was some guidelines which we've reported just about 5 minutes ago. So yes, these are not mandatory guidelines, but these are guidelines which exist in place.
You rightly said earlier, these are advisories, but not the guidelines.
Not mandatory at this point in time. Yeah.
For everybody. They would not be selectively writing to just one yatra and not to the Prime Minister for his...
Okay, Tuhin, respond to this. Why did the BJP selectively write only to the Bharat Jodo Yatra? That's the question Mahima ji is asking.
The Honorable Health Minister has already answered that. 3 MPs from Rajasthan had approached him because of certain prevalence of cases during the Bharat Jodo Yatra. In fact, the CM of Himachal Pradesh has been down with COVID. 2 or 3 other leaders who have been a part of the Bharat Jodo Yatra have been down with COVID. So I think it was, very responsible on his part to do that. Having said that, I don't understand this insistence of the Congress party, on guidelines, because politics apart, we would still consider them reasonably intelligent to know what happened during the first, during the
Yeah,
first,
Tushar, I'll come to you.
the time the pandemic first struck
Yeah.
us, and they would follow the same advisory. So what is the big deal in it? Pawan Khera, he's so upbeat, he's so vocal in on television shows, but I can't come to terms with the fact that he's not able to understand what the advisory would be. And this is what highlights the kind of petty politics the Congress party is playing on the issue. Mahima ji was mentioning about an expert called Raghuram Rajan. He's not an expert. He's a political aspirant. He will do whatever Rahul Gandhi will ask him to do because he wants certain favors from the Congress party. But I think the only
The Chief Minister of Himachal Pradesh, Mahima ji, this is a question that BJP has been asking through the day. That the Chief Minister of Himachal Pradesh was down with COVID-19 after attending the Yatra. And after that, anybody who's been in touch with the Chief Minister should have followed the COVID-19 protocols. They should have isolated themselves. One of the things that was also said by the BJP is, why didn't Rahul Gandhi isolate after that? I want you to respond to that.
Before I come to answer to your question, I would say, he just said that he's not an expert. Is the BJP spokesperson trying to tell the world that the former governor of Reserve Bank of India and an international academician of international repute is not an expert at all in his eyes? I'm sorry, that's mockery. Academicians. That's very unbecoming of the BJP.
Let's come to the moot question, ma'am. Please, my request.
Just ask me, Anusha, I have to say that, the Congress party is much concerned about each yatri's health, including Rahul Gandhi ji. And I'm very sure that they are monitoring their health status, continuously. Also, not to forget that the CM of Himachal Pradesh was only tested positive when he called upon the Prime Minister for a meeting. And so as a matter of protocol, he had to undergo that test.
Okay.
He came out to be positive somehow. I'm very sure that he's taking care of his health very well, and Rahul Gandhi ji and everybody around him. Rahul Gandhi ji walks in a plain t-shirt, a half-sleeve t-shirt, wakes up somewhere between 3 or 4 in the morning when everybody is clad in layers and layers of woolens. He's the only one walking.
Well, I wish any person, good luck when they want to go to those political rallies. Tushar, please make your point, then I'll go to George Kurian.
It's rather hilarious listening to the Congress spokesperson, and this is where I start disagreeing with Tuhin Sinha when he says that they're reasonably intelligent to take care of themselves. Look, Anusha, wearing masks is not about politics, it's about common sense. If you're listening to the number of cases that are coming from China, you would rather pick up your mask than wait for a ministerial guideline. And what is the Congress spokesperson talking about? Rahul Gandhi warning the government in 2020 January. Wuhan was locked down in February 2020. So are they telling us that Rahul Gandhi was able to anticipate the spread of the virus globally? And let's not get down to the Kumbh Mela or the farmer protests. It was Congress that was indulging in a toolkit during the second wave. They wanted to blame the Kumbh Mela as a super spreader event for the Delta virus outbreak. So let's not talk about the Congress's participation in the coronavirus. At the end of the day, what we're getting to understand is that Rahul Gandhi and all his supporters are very insecure, because even though if it's all about wearing one mask, it's about taking some simple precautions. They cannot do it without making it about petty politics. All they care for today is to make a grand entry in Delhi, grab some news eyeballs, and just make it to the headlines for one day, even though they're scoring golden ducks across India in the last 12 months in all assembly elections. But at the end of the day, they care more for the news, more for the eyeballs, than for the health of their workers and their supporters.
Well, George, why wait for a government? Mahima ji, I'll just come to you. I just want to allow one more panelist to participate into the discussion. He's been waiting very patiently. I'll come back to you, Mahima ji. Please give me 2 minutes. George, talking to you about the position that has been taken by the Congress party, I think it's an argument in common sense that if you're at any major public gathering, even when I'm venturing out into markets right now, I would want to wear a mask, especially if it's a crowded place. The Yatra, we are seeing the kind of crowd it has, and it's not really organized at this point in time. What's the harm in following the COVID-19 protocol, especially if there is a concern that was expressed by the Union Health Minister, by certain MPs themselves, and that's why the Health Minister thought it was fit to write a letter to the Congress leaders?
Well, Anusha, a very good evening to you and my fellow panelists. See, BJP's nervousness and frustration is showing up as the elections are over, number one. Number two, I'm really grateful to my counterpart here, Tohin and Tushar, for showing concern for the Bharat Jodo Yatra and Rahul Gandhi in specific. Congress party is a progressive party with a progressive approach. Congress party believes every life is important. And for us, if the government of India comes out with an advisory and a protocol, we are ready to follow the protocol, provided the health minister himself leads by example. The parliament is functioning as normal. There are no restrictions as of right now. I don't see any surge, and COVID has become a new normal in today's day. And this is just to bring the yatra and dent the image of Bharat Jodo Yatra, and it's garnering the support across all spectrums. And Rahul Gandhi has become the talk of the town over social media.
George, the question is that wonderful if the yatra is getting all the support. Let's believe what is happening. But the government is saying you have to follow certain protocols. Can you please follow the protocols because there are cases being reported? That's what the argument of the government is.
Why not? The Congress party and the leadership has not denied the fact that we are not ready to follow the protocol. If it is given in writing, and it has to go across the board, not just specific to Bharat Jodo Yatra. I'll just name a few: the Kankariya festival, which is coming up in Gujarat, the flower show. Then we have the Pramukh Swami Maharaj centenary coming up. See, all these events are going to have lakhs of devotees and hundreds of lakhs of tourists. So the rule should apply to everyone simultaneously. It's not, you cannot just single out the Bharat Jodo Yatra to be very specific. See, one has to understand that.
Okay. I have last few minutes. Mahima ji, you had a point to make. Please go ahead.
My point was, Anusha, that there was a case in the Supreme Court recently which started due to the adverse events post-vaccine. And, the government very categorically said to the Supreme Court that, sorry, it's not our responsibility if people are dying post-vaccine, or if the cancer cases have risen by 10,000% post-vaccine, or if 2 young daughters of one family have died because of vaccine. That's where the case started. And the government comes out and says that it's not our responsibility. So the government is very selective, very choosy in taking responsibility, is very choosy in putting responsibility as well. And so, the whole the local standby of the government becomes very dicey, becomes very lousy, I have to say also. So, the government will have to make its stance very clear. The government will have to be very clear.
Mahima ji, can I ask you one question? Whenever in any country there is a universal, so to a great extent, COVID-19 was a universal immunization program because everybody was supposed to get it. The risk associated with the universal immunization program, do they belong to the government? I'm asking you a legal and a technical question.
So are you saying that the government is right in saying that it is not their responsibility?
I'm asking you, what is the legal position, ma'am?
By putting that question, are you trying to stand eye of the government?
No, I'm just asking you a simple question.
Anusha.
All right. I want to bring in Tuhin Sinha into the discussion. Tuhin, certain points have been made when it comes to, yes, Tushar, I'll come to you. I'll give you last minute. Tuhin, certain points have been made that the government takes the onus and responsibility when it suits their political agenda and denies any kind of responsibility when it's actually the issue of the citizens. She's quoting an example of the vaccines. You might want to respond to that one.
Anusha, the only parameters to gauge the success or failure of a government in handling the COVID should be the prevalence of cases per million of the population and the death per million. And in both the parameters, India's performance has been exceptional when you consider, the performance of some of the other countries, especially Rahul's favorite country, China, and the US. So I don't think the Congress should lecture us on COVID management. When we have laid out certain precautions, let me tell you, the same precautions would apply for any similar yatra or any gathering from here. So I don't know why the Congress is so, playing this victim card.
All right, I've last 30 seconds to share a quick point from you. A quick point from you.
Anusha, just to fact check the Congress spokesperson, there were no claims that the cancer patients number has risen by 10,000%, but there was a report in 2020 that there have been more than 10,000 cancer cases. So 10,000% is different from 10,000.
And I'm afraid that's a very different debate to venture into.
But Anusha, that's lying. That's lying on national television. That's creating a vaccine paranoia. That's creating vaccine fear, and that needs to be addressed.
And all these details when it comes to the health hazards, related to vaccines should be put out with much context and much responsibility. I'm afraid that's a topic to debate for some other day. I'm completely short of time. Tuhin Sinha, Mahima Singh, Tushar Gupta, George Kurian. Thank you all for joining us on the broadcast. With that, it's a wrap on this edition. The Bharat Jodo Yatra will enter Delhi tomorrow, and all eyes on that one. With that, it's a wrap. Ridhima joins you on the other side. Good evening. Thanks a lot for staying with us. I'm Ridhima Bhatnagar. Now there is a new friction point between the BJP and the DMK in Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu BJP leader Sasikala Pushpa has been booked under 3 sections after a property in Thoothukudi was vandalized yesterday. This comes after a war of words erupted between the BJP leader Sasikala Pushpa and DMK Minister